start at 9:30, and I think I'm going to start. All right? When I really took time to look at what the program was for CALLERLAB this year, I was very much interested in the word pleasure. Looking in a dictionary under the word pleasure, according to Webster, I was very delighted to find the following words: enjoyment, satisfaction, a source of enjoyment, one's preference, one's wish or choice. Taking the words under the description of pleasure one at a time, let's take a look at them and see if they really relate to this year's theme, programming for pleasure. The first word, enjoyment, Webster says, to experience joy. Under the word joy, a feeling of delight, happiness, gladness, a source of pleasure. Satisfaction, a fulfillment or gratification of a desire or need. Source, the beginning, one that supplies information. Hopefully you, the caller. Preference, the selecting or right to select someone over others or another. Wish, a desire for something, a want. Let's hope it's square dancing. Choice, the act of choosing or selecting a number. 20 square class, we hope. Or a variety from which to choose. Looking at variety, we have bowling, we have golf, we have bingo, and last, under the word choice, the best part. Surely, we can, as callers, make this the best part of any other pleasurable activity now being offered. With this word, pleasure, in mind, it is my pleasure, here's that word again, to introduce to you a very pleasurable colleague, known to many, but for those who have not had the pleasure, and here's that word again, to meet or know her, or know of some of her many accomplishments, to list a few, calling for over 33 years, accredited caller coach, owner and operator of the House of Roth, Nova Scotia, Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Gloria Roth.
Thank you, Eddie. It is always embarrassing to have people start giving the number of years that I've been calling. I look out there and I see a large number of you that I do know very personally. Thank you all for coming over. This is very anticlimactic after the terrific program we had over there in the other room, but it was a source of pleasure to know that our fellow callers can get together like that, isn't it? And produce that kind of music in addition to our own kind of music. Really a joy. We thank you for coming out. We're talking about programming, and to each of us, programming at the plus level or any level, and we're speaking of plus in this room, is a very intensely personal thing. I always object to callers who give clinics that say, at this time of the evening we should do this, at this time of the year we should do this, because it is an intensely personal thing. What works for one square dance caller does not work for another, and each of you have to kind of find out your own ways, and some of you that have called many years already have done that, as to what works best for you. I've divided my part of the program into 4 actual subjects or headings. One is just thinking about smooth plus dancing. When we look up a definition, and we won't belabor the fact of what the dictionary says, because it's only a very brief thing, but it means having an even, gentle motion. Smooth is also having a roughness or projection worn off level by use. And further, it means having no obstructions or difficulties. And lastly, believe it or not, flatteringly bland. All right? We often think of, or we like to think about smooth dancing as not being unflatteringly bland, meaning, sickeningly bland. Smooth to us means more in the body action. In talking about body action, I have long been a promoter of using the term body flow, or using in place of that term, those two words, using the word kinesiology, which means the anatomy of the body as well as the motion of the body, to mean body flow. I remember the years when we started using the term choreography. Everybody shuddered. They said, not only will people not be able to pronounce choreography, they won't be able to spell it. And now we use it like salt and pepper, and no one thinks anything of it. If we are professional people, and I like to think we are, then we shouldn't be afraid of using kinesiology. But I would just like to have, let's see, Ginny, how about you stand up for a minute, would you mind? Some of the calls, this is Ginny, and Ginny is a caller. You are a caller, and when, yes, a loose woman. When we think about smooth choreography, we have to look at each call individually, and of course we don't have time to do that here tonight. But if I were to take a string, and I think some of you have perhaps seen these little dolls that they have, and put it from the top of Ginny right down through the center of her. Turn and face them for a minute, will you, Ginny? All right. And I could take her body and swing it around that string that she would be attached to. We would see that the body has an axis, and eventually as we gave it one push, it would finally get to a point where what would happen, it would slow down just like going this way on a swing and slowing down. It would swing back the other way, and then little by little, it would go back and forth like this, a gentle motion, until finally it would stop. And thank you, Ginny. Most of our square dance moves are inherently designed when they were created, to produce a gentle movement around our longitudinal axis, and that isn't very difficult to understand. You all know that anyway. In order to produce smooth dancing, or when we do produce smooth dancing, by putting a combination of calls together, we actually are making the greatest use of that longitudinal axis as we can. Some of our calls are not designed. The call square through is not designed the way it was created. The inherent move itself is not a smooth call to dance. That is why when men get to the second hand, their natural action would be to swing back and away. We always say it's because of the right and left through motion, but they still will do it if they haven't even learned a right and left through, and that's because of the way it was designed. I'm not up here to tell you the different calls that I feel are really not well designed. I just would like to point out to you that if we think about the axis of the body, and some of us never have done that, when we are putting together calls, either writing down a program or however we do it, if we think about that, if we see somebody having to jerk, 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 we know that it's not going to be a very smooth combination of calls. So we talk about smooth, and that we've covered. The second thing I'm going to give you are some cautions about plus dancing. These are things that you have to be aware of. Could I have a square up front? The first thing we're going to talk about is overflow. Many men callers, and I'm not down on men callers, heaven forbid, what would the world be without them? However, we often as men callers do not think of, we need half a couple, pardon me. Either way. Thank you so much. Pardon me? The loose women, yeah. I wasn't even in the hall when that was said. John asked me later whether I was one of the loose women that stood up, and I said, no, I wasn't. All right. We forget. Is there anyone in the hall that has never heard the term overflow before? So all right, let's just take a look at what it is. I'm going to ask you, Ginny, would you raise your hand? All right. Heads to the right, or slide over to the right and make a line, if you would, for me. A zero line. Zero line. This end, please. Okay. Would you touch 1/4? I would like to have you watch, let's see, would you all circulate double? One position and then two again. Now, Ginny, raise your hand again. Would you watch Ginny for me, all you men callers and you girl spouses or girl callers? Would you all coordinate? Now watch Ginny. Go ahead, coordinate. Bend the line. Touch 1/4. Coordinate. Now she's moving out of that other end there, and her overflow has stopped. All right, would you wheel and deal right here, please? Now watch Ginny. Raise your hand again, Ginny. All right, swing through. Now watch how little she moves. Boys run. Bend the line. Touch 1/4. Coordinate. bend the line. Ginny is in a state of overflow. She's hardly moving more than a body's width off of her action there. Can you see what I mean by overflow? Many situations produce a man doing the same thing. But in this case, we had Ginny in the position where she was doing the overflow. Let's see what you star through. Veer to the left. A couple circulate. Ferris wheel. Centers pass through. Alaman left. And promenade back home for me, please. Okay. So that is what the term overflow means. And I think that you have to be aware that in plus calling, we can get a lot of overflow if we're not careful. I'm sure all of you have the plus list. Somewhere you have the plus list. When we keep the plus list, we must remember that on that list I have a list that looks like this. I got them from Dick Jones, the late Dick Jones, and on here are all the plus things. I keep it in my record case. It's in a hard plastic. And every single night of every single plus dance, which is the majority of dances I call, and those in this room probably are also in that position of calling more plus dances than anything else. Every night, every single call is called without fail. If I miss one, especially in a club situation, if I miss one and I think about it later, I really feel badly to think that I have let my dancers down on that one call. When we were living in Nova Scotia, Johnny and I, for 11 years year-round, there was one woman dancer that would come to the dance and keep track of the number of calls, and it got to be a little game to see if I could call, how many I could call in one tip and still keep it nicely flowing. There is no reason not to call. If we have these calls on the list, even if you particularly are frightened of using one of the calls because you're not sure what it does, it behooves you to use it. Make yourself use it. It's a case of self-discipline. Not to use it is doing your own dancers an injustice. So when we talk about programming, try and keep in mind that if you have a list like this and it fits in the back of your record case, in between tips you can pull it out. So we have the thing about caution. I'm cautioning you on overflow. Watch out. You kids can sit down. Thank you very much. Overflow and missing some of your plus calls during each night you call. Okay. The next thing I'd like to speak about is beware of using the burnt image kind of sight calling. How many of you know what the burnt image of sight calling is? All right, could we have a square? Ginny, would you mind being part of it? Because they're used to looking at you now. And you're easy to look at. Yeah. All right, we need 2 more couples, please. Ho, Mike. Atta boy. 1 more. By the way, for those of you that came in late, we went around the room, and there were about 40 of us in the room at the one time, and I don't believe there was more than maybe 2 couples from one state. We have the widest range of people, and I see we've added to that now. We have even New Zealand in here. So, I mean, we really are well represented. Okay. Yes, our moderator, Mr. Mayall, said, would you please move forward? Some of them would like to sit there so they can slip out when they get bored. We're going to make it tough for you to do that. He'd like you to move forward if you can, if you would. All right. Burnt image is this. Would you all take the note of the Kennedys? Raise your hand, Kennedys, for me, please. All right, the Kennedys are couple number 3, but we're going to call them 1 because they're facing back to you. All right, they're going to be couple number 1, which means that Mike and his partner are couple 2, Ginny and her husband are couple 3, and Charles and Marginette are couple 4. All right, I am going to have everyone watch one side of the square with the heads star through. Would you California twirl? And would this side of the square go and sit down? You too. You too. Okay. This is a real snapshot explanation of burnt image. And that is when you call to 4 dancers in sight calling. And remember only those 4, knowing that the other side of the square is absolutely equal. Someone call a maneuver. Swing through. Someone else add to that. Boys trade. Someone else, come on. Girls trade. Someone else. Girls fold, sneaky. Peel off. Someone else. Half tag. Scoop back. Boys dodge. Very good. All right. Do you notice that we're doing an awful lot of dancing? Dancers at the plus level are much more aware of their choreography than are dancers at the mainstream level. And if they are people that are confirmed plus dancers and don't care to move on, they may get very, very tired of doing the burnt image type. Is there any question on burnt image? Would you, let's see, do a U-turn back for me, please. Flutter wheel. and sweep a quarter more. Star through. Do a right and left through. Go sit down. All right? Is there any question now what I mean? That's another caution. So what do we have here? We have... What? Eddie goes back a long way. I remember before Eddie was calling, and it made me feel sick tonight to see him get his 25-year certificate. I mean... All right. We have to be careful of overflow, the burn image, and missing any of the calls that there are on the plus list. All right. Those are the generalities. Now, when we get to planning a program, I told you earlier that it's intensely personal how you go about what is good for one person is not good for another. And I'm not going to be here to say, do this, do that, and at a certain time in a night or in a year, do this. I can't do that because to me, it would be different than for you or for, well, your husband. All right. So it would be. However, it is good to take an overview of the whole year as far as what your own goals are. How many of you have a caller run club? Boy, that's a good sign. Okay. How many of you have a committee run club? How many of you have one of each? How many of you wish you had a caller run club? Well, we're getting there. Okay. It may not work for you to sit down and do the planning if you have a committee-run club, but maybe with your committee. In other words, take your calendar. In New Zealand, hey, about now, let's see, Vern, did you leave? If it's spring in September, what is it now? It's the beginning of autumn. Okay. Yours would be a little different, but our season in the United States and Canada pretty much goes, September to May or June, whatever. So you'll excuse me. We'll have to eliminate that side of the world, okay? In September, we might have an autumn dance. Each month of the year, as you go along through it, you can set up some sort of a goal to have some sort of a special event for your party. As an overview, it would be a good idea to do that with or without your committee's approval. If you have an executive committee, you should get their approval. But you should know what you're going to do for an overall view. If you are the kind of person that likes to have a philosophical goal, then set a philosophical goal or a plan of action for your dancers. Maybe your soft plus when you start the year, and you want to be all the way through, and they even know it dance by definition plus, so they can do he, she, and all that. Have a goal. Don't just go down night after night after night after night. If you don't, you'll get to feel bored yourself, and so will your dancers pretty soon. Okay? So that's the overview. Now, are there any questions about anything or any comments you fellas and gals would like to make at this point? Yes. The gal from Virginia? Would you go to the mic and address us all? Aren't you from Virginia?
No.
New Jersey.
I figured I better check because I thought maybe you knew something I didn't know.
Very good.
When you
State your
mentioned
name.
I'm sorry, Dot Lowenstein, Bergen County, New Jersey. When you mentioned we have to be careful about burnt image, were you being pro-burnt image or con? You just said be careful. You
Yes,
didn't say whether it was good or bad.
overuse, like overflow. Overuse of burnt image at the plus level, dancers become very bored
A
of staying.
simple couple circulate would have solved a lot.
Oh, yes, but I was demonstrating. Some of them did not know burn image, and I was just demonstrating quickly. If you do know that system of sight calling and you do use it too much at the plus level, people get very bored. They'll even mention, I went to so-and-so's dance, and all they did was keep four of us together. They don't know that it's called burn image. They just know that they're bored. I see you nodding. You must be aware of that. Would you go to the microphone? The reason we aren't trying to get your voice tested or anything, but we are being taped. Oh, fine. Anyone else like to address anything at this point? Make any comments about your own experiences. You're welcome to do it. That's what this session is about. Anything about what I've discussed. Okay. What I need now is I need 4 squares of dancers, and we're going to move these chairs back just a little bit and use this side. And I'd like the rest of you to come up on this side so you can see. All right. Can we have 4 squares of dancers up here? Yep. I think we can. One more, maybe, but don't put it too far this way. We need 4 squares. We need 1 woman for this gentleman right here from Australia. Who would like to dance with an Aussie? Don't move these. Let's see. If you keep moving those, we'll be okay. We need a woman. We need 1 woman right down front here. Hello, Earl. Good. Oh, no, we're not going to be embarrassed. No. No. Heavens, no. What I'm giving you to take home is a hands-on thing to use for variety. We talked about complexity. How many of you heard that? The debate on complexity? and the exchangeable term that was put in was variety. And I'm giving you something to take home and try that for some reason the dancers enjoy sparingly used, but it's certainly one thing you can take back that's concrete from CALLERLAB to try with your plus dancers. We need one more couple. That's right, Curly's up there. That shoots my program. I'm not going to embarrass anyone. I'm using very few plus terms just because I know you people aren't used to this. Let's see how we're doing here. Holy mackerel, is this ever a fast thing, huh? Okay. That's real tinny sounding. Is that what these things sound like? Where's Jim? Do you hear it out there? That's right, it's on tape. Okay. All right. While we're waiting for us to get sound, Jim, you can go do that. Would you do this for me? Would this square, Roger, would you move your square over so it's right smack in the middle of these others? Okay, keep the whole square move over. And move that away, too, so it really, literally in the middle of them. Would this square here, would you square up around them? Mike, bring your whole square around them. And would this other square up around them, please, so that there's 3 couples on each spoke? And then would this last couple square up around them, please? So that we have all 4 squares are surrounded in one. This is called Kaleidoscope formation. You would see it much better if you were up here and seeing that you're not. I might remind you that this is being taped, and if you wanted to have the directions to use it for your own groups at home, buy the tape if you can't remember. Actually, it's quite simple. And let me point out, we won't refer to it again. For those of you that are practicing sight calling, this is an excellent way to discipline yourself to watch 4 squares, because it will happen. Ground rules for kaleidoscope dancing. We still don't have any sound. I wonder if we could get sound. Let's bow to the partner. There is no corner. In kaleidoscope dancing, one of the pleasures is you never have to worry about missing your corner, because there is no corner in kaleidoscope dancing. All the people who think they might be heads in this formation, raise your hand. And you're correct. All the people who think they may be sides in this formation, raise your hand. That is correct. That is unique to the total kaleidoscope, okay? The total kaleidoscope has heads and sides. In each spoke, there is a whole square. Listen carefully. These are the ground rules. All the people on the inside square that's squared up first are couple number 1 in relation to the people behind them. Would all the couple number 1s raise their hands? Listen again. All the people on the very inside of the kaleidoscope are couple number 1s. We'll let you Canadians catch on a little lower. It's okay, Mike. All right. In relation to the people behind you, behind couple number 1 stands couple number 2. Would couple number 2 in each spoke raise their hands? Couple number 3, you stand behind 2, of course. Who are you? And couple number 4, you know who you are. You're left over. Would all the 4s raise their hand, just so that I know you know? Right. All right. Now, 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4 compromise, and I'm doing a little more explaining to you because you're callers and partners than I would if I were talking to dancers, just so you understand. You only have to watch one of those to know that you have 3 others, if you are doing it, that will be correctly in formation, all right? Would the 1s and 3s do a California twirl for me, please? Your close quarters here. Everyone star through. Would you make a line of 4 beside you and hang on to this line and not leave it? All right? Fine. Would you all pass through one line of 4? Go on to the next line of 4 and pass through that. With the next line of 4, would you star through? We're a little bit cramped here, but that's all right. Just a little bit. All right? May I say that if we ever get back home to where you were successfully, that seems to be the pleasure in kaleidoscope dancing, to get home where you started. No Allman lefts, no grand right and lefts, but just to get back successfully. There's 32 of you instead of 8 cooperating successfully, okay? Would you swing through? Boys, run. You're going to wheel and deal. Now, that certainly isn't variety. It's the formation that makes it feel different, okay? Would you star through? Check your line of 4, please. Pass through one line of 4. Go on and pass through the next line of 4. With your partner, star through. 1s and 3s, California twirl. If you did it right, you are back home in your kaleidoscope, and there seems to be a satisfaction for people when they dance this, especially for the very first time. The first time you use it, you can't get into things like relay the deucey, spin chain the gears, but certainly you can as you get on. If I told you to have heads do a quadruple pass-through, would you do it for me, please? Heads do a giant peel-off and make a line of 8. Sides do a quadruple pass-through for me, please. Would you do a giant peel-off and make a line of 8? The reason we call it kaleidoscope is because we change the formation from one thing to another, and it happens very, very quickly. Think for a minute. You're going to bend this line so that you're facing your own partner. Would you do that for me, please? Bend the lines. And star through. Heads do a quadruple pass-through, and then do a giant peel-off. And sides a quadruple pass-through, and you over there do a giant peel-off. And everybody, let's bend your lines. And star through for me, please. And you're back home again. And the success, that is, if you can squeeze in. We're really cramped here. You wouldn't use it. Very often, if you only have 4 squares, it's a good night to use that, this kind of a thing. Now, if we do a cloverleaf, heads, let's have sides do a quadruple pass-through. If I have the sides do a giant cloverleaf, they don't have room in this hall to come in behind. Wait a minute, hold it just a minute, sir. You've got the idea, all right. But I'm going to have all of you get going on a quadruple pass-through and a giant cloverleaf. And when we do this, it means that right now the sides are going to have to come in behind the heads. With the couple ones out here, Ginny and her husband, and Helen, you and your partner from Australia, raise your hand for me, please. When those 4 people meet back where they started from, we will all have finished. Sides, stay still for just a minute, but move forward so these other people can start a giant cloverleaf. All right? Would you start a giant cloverleaf and come in behind the head couples for me, please? Now, everyone is going to get going and proceed in doing a series of double pass-throughs or quadruple pass-throughs, or what is octagonal pass-throughs or whatever. Would everyone start going and pass through? Go ahead. And everyone start moving and keep moving. Out there, do a giant cloverleaf, separate and come down at the side position. Do another cloverleaf, but remember, go ahead, come down the center, and then do a keep on going. Now, right now, it looks like drill work, but to dance it gives you a different kind of feeling. Keep going, separate out there, come down at the head position. Now, you're going to do your quadruple pass-through. Go ahead, line up again, opposite people. And when you get all the way through, and then do a cloverleaf. And watch out now, because the sides are going to be coming back. Go down the center one more time, heads. You do a quadruple pass-through. The sides are coming back home, and you will stop where you began, sides. The other heads, do your giant cloverleaf, and then you're coming into home position. The possibilities are absolutely unlimited. You did very well, because that was your first time, I think, for most of you to do it. Frosting on the cake is 1s and 3s, California twirl. When all of us do an 8-chain through, we know how to do it. But we always go through the middle to the end of the column, courtesy turn, and head back the other way. When we do a 32-chain through, the ground rule is we can't go through the center. All right? We can't go through the center. Would all the number 4 couples raise their hands for me, please? All right? When anyone gets to that point in a spoke, they must courtesy turn a girl and start back again. If it takes 8 hands to do an 8-chain through, how many would it take to do a 32-chain through? 32 pull-bys, 4 courtesy turns or whatever. All right? I'm going to have you go the first few hands, and where your callers, I think you and your partners will understand immediately, but take your time. So we only have 1 shot at this. And on a dance floor, on a plus dance night, you only have 1 shot for it too. So take your time. Would all of you give a right hand, pull by, and let go and do nothing else? Couple number 3, you are now facing out in couple 4 position. Would you courtesy turn that girl for your second hand? Now you can see what's going on. In the very center, couple number 2, because we cannot go through the center, would you turn your back slightly on your partner and give a left hand to that person, pull by, and you're looking at someone's back in a new spoke. Okay? Now, couple 1 and couple 4, give a left hand, pull by, and stop. Left hand will do better. Okay, fine. Now, we have all done 2 hands, and some of you already realize what's going to happen here. Can we give a right hand, pull by, in the center, turn away, in the very middle, give a left pull by. On the ends, you courtesy turn. Can we go ahead now and keep on going, but take your time and don't hurry it. Turn away in the middle each time, alternate left and right. No, it isn't me here. where you began, gang. Courtesy turn on the end. Come on. Yes, it is, too. Take your time. Don't get too far ahead, girls. Take your time. Girls, watch out. Sometimes girls get ahead. All of you are coming towards your last spoke now, but make sure you go all the way. Keep going. Stop where you began. 1s and 3s, California twirl, and you made it. Give yourselves a little hand, okay? Now, to get out of this so you can dance a singing call in individual squares, okay? 1s, 2s, and 3s, California twirl for me, please. Couple number 4, dive through. One couple, and what do you do when someone dives through you? Is that too hard for you, Curly? Yeah, okay. In the middle, 2s and 3s, do a right and left through. Let's have you veer to the, well, never mind. Don't. You're awful close to do a flutter wheel, but would you do a flutter wheel for me? Sweep a quarter more. 2 ladies chain. Where's couple number 1? Where's couple number 2? And couple 3? And couple 4? Would you join hands and circle left, except for the square that has their back already to me, couple 1. You don't have to circle. The rest of you circle till couple 1 has their back to me like you would in any square. Good. Heads go up to the middle and you come right back. You square through and just like that, and you come 4 hands around to the outside pair, and then you swing through with the outside 2, and boys run around that girl. Do her wheel and deal. Face those 2 with a right and left through when you turn this lady. Now pass to the center and square through 3/4 round and find the corner element left with the corner lady. Now promenade your partner. You go right back home, or you're home if you're there, so stay there. What do you know? When you get back home again, you're going to bow to the partner. You turn and bow to the corner lady too. And you would stop them there when they're squared up, and you would say, okay, let's do a singing call. And by the way, gang, when you finish this, you don't have just 4 other or 3 other couples to thank. You have 31 other people to thank before you sit down, okay? I think the gentleman who recorded this is here at CALLERLAB, because I looked over at dinner tonight. Am I right? Craig Rowe? You're gonna walk around that corner, girl, come home with an El Paso. Partner left in the corner, right, and a partner left, you know. You wheel right in, make an Allemandar, and you back it down the line. Slip the clutch, left Allemand, and then weave the time. Hallelujah, I'm ready. Hallelujah, do sado and promenade. Hallelujah, I'm ready. Hallelujah, I'm ready to go. Head to couples promenade, and you go just halfway around. Come down the middle and do the right and left through. You square through and you come to me, 4 hands around, you see. And then do a right and left through and turn her to. Pass to the center, square through now, 3/4 round, and then swing the corner, girl, and promenade. Hallelujah, I'm ready. Hallelujah, I'm ready to go. Head to couples promenade, take this girl and sit her down. The sides promenade and sit her down. You don't need to dance the whole singing call. You did it real fine. Thank you very much. Okay, spare your feet. Thank you all for doing that. Back to you. Ed, I'm done. Yeah, you did well, Curly.
Curly, you did such a good job that Gloria decided she's going to go out and get a medal for you tomorrow. Does anyone have any questions for Gloria at this time? Would you please step to the mic and state your name, as this is being taped, and we would like to put you in the limelight.
It's just a simple little question. My name is Elmo Troiani. I'm from Delaware. Do you cite that, or is that memory?
Of course, I knew what I was doing to you, to the dancers there tonight. But no, I cite it once I get it going.
No,
you know certain things by the time you're at Plus calling. If it's only your first time up, you wouldn't do that at Plus. But if you've been calling for a number of years at Plus, then it's very easy to cite, because you only have to watch the one square, and you know your other 3 squares, if they're dancing, are going to be doing it. What do you know about a relay the deucey, for instance, at Plus level? What is it? It's a 0, but it's a technical or that's right. They're on the other side of the square, so that if you do it 2 times, where are they?
Back arm, it's
yeah. So you do it 1 time here, 1 time. do some kind of sort of a zero out, swing through, boys run, whatever, that they're familiar with, wheel and deal, start through, get them in lines, take them halfway around the square, do it another time, and they feel like they have done a tremendous thing, and you brought them back, and then you bring them back around the square. It's a very, very easy thing to handle, and very, very different from what they're used to. And as I say, you can't do it every week. But it sure is great if you've got some dancers that are at plus level, because then if you are asked to do a demonstration and you have 4 squares, you've got a neat thing for demonstration. They're already familiar with it, and it's a beautiful thing for people to watch, non-dancers to watch. Very
Thank
interesting.
You.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Move on. In keeping with our theme, programming for pleasure of dancing, my part of the program that I have planned was to use the call Explode as my theme, and in doing my homework, or trying to, I came across in Don Beck's notes that he had already done my homework for me. So I thank Don Beck. But if we could get 1 square of people, and I guarantee that I will not try to embarrass you, we can get on with it. For the people that aren't dancing, for those that aren't dancing, just kind of watch and see if it looks good. Okay, gang? Boy, Joe, you are brave. Bob of the honey in the corner two, and they hit 2 couples past the ocean. Explode, touch a quarter. Couples in the inside, walk and dodge. Do a partner trade. Star through. Did a right on left through and turn the girl to the lady's chain. I got them back home good. Excellent. Wasn't that nice? That wasn't what I wanted to do. Heads, past the ocean. Extend, explode, and touch a quarter. Coordinate. Do a Ferris wheel and spread. Move up to the middle and back you do. Pass through, tag the line. Track 2. Girls trade, explode, and touch a quarter. California, boys run around the girls. California twirl, star through, past the ocean, swing through. Boys run, bend the line, star through, did a right on left through, star through, pass through, bend the line, move up and back you do. Now star through, did a right on left through. Dive through, star through, side 2, do a right on left through. Same lady's chain. Are you back home? Good. Okay, taking the same call, a group of calls, let's see what happens here, gang. Heads past the ocean. Extend, explode, touch a quarter. Coordinate. Bend the line, stop through, did a right and left through. Pass to the center, trade by, stop through, did a right and left through. Pass through, bend the line, stop through. Pass through, do an element, left, come back. You promenade, go around the track and promenade that lady there. Short trip, you got it good. Okay. Now this time I'll get it the way I want it, I hope. Heads past the ocean. Extend. Heads back up. Back up. Into the wave, please. Swing through. Extend. Explode. Touch a quarter. Coordinate. We got the message, I hope. I apologize for the main... Let's go back and look at what happened. In the first figure, have the heads past the ocean, please. extend, explode, touch a quarter. Note, the next call. Coordinate is the call, and it is the most used and common formation for the dancers. And your chance of success from here is pretty good, gang. Good. Coordinate. Go. Do a Ferris wheel and spread. Pass through. Tag your line. Note, the next call, track 2. Most commonly used formation, they should make it. Girls trade. Explode. Star through. Pass through. Element left. Come back. Walk one step. You should be there. Calls swing through after the pass the ocean. I can guarantee that we're not going to make it. I think we already proved that. Heads past the ocean. Swing through. Extend. Explode. Touch a quarter. Coordinate. They'll make it this time. No, they didn't. Okay, the message, gang, that I feel that in programming for pleasure, thank you, you may sit down. In programming for pleasure, that you can add variety to the calls on the plus list using a variety of calls and giving them the calls in different setups, which are not usually, but making sure that the call that follows is a standard formation that the dancers are used to doing it in. If you do that, you can add variety, and you can also be assured that the dancers are going to make it through. And my feeling is that's our job. I think we should be able to do that. And that's about it for that. Are there any questions? No questions?
Ed Roddy from Connecticut. Do you think it's unreasonable to have them do a track 2 from that odd position?
The first time, was it the first one, Ed?
Yeah, no, the second time, when the ladies were on the right and the men were on the left. Or vice versa, whether the fellows have to go inside, the girls outside, where they don't normally do that. You don't normally do a track. On the average night, you wouldn't do a track 2.
No, we do not.
Okay, you're saying that that's not advisable?
That's not advisable. That's my message.
I say because I do that sometimes. One, for shock, and two, the second time they'll do it. And the victory achieved once they accomplish that is great.
No, wait a minute. Gloria's got one here.
I was just going to say, Ed, didn't you ask him if the track 2 with the girls on the wrong side was his message? His message was about the explode.
Right.
Oh, I see. The fact
that after the swing through, when one couple was half sashay.
Yeah, well, you demonstrated a coordinate difficulty and a track 2 difficulty, and I wondered if that was your point. You were just talking about
the call coordinate. If we follow that figure down through the rest, the sequence of calls I used, and the track 2 would also be in a very unfamiliar situation for him, yes.
What you're saying basically is you want to be sure they succeed.
Right.
Okay. Well, there are some calls like the track 2. The second time they'd probably do it. The first time, maybe, and they're going to giggle, titter, and be embarrassed. But the second time, they'll do it and feel good about it. So shouldn't you try it a second time to make sure they get a second shot at it?
If you want to take the chance, yes, you go ahead.
Okay, I'm Wes McCarthy from Brampton, Ontario. Should you not cue that and give the dancers that little bit of edge? You just said coordinate. Should you not say center six straight and spread?
I could have, yes.
Just to give them a helping hand. If they do it the first time, they should be cued a little bit, should they not? For the ease of dancing.
Would you repeat that, please?
When you call it for the first time, then should you not help the dancers by cueing it for them, telling them to circulate once and a half and center six straight?
Normally, I would.
Then the centers move up.
Normally, I would. Mm-hmm. But the point I was trying to make, and I think we did, that if you don't give them the help, that failure is almost guaranteed. I understand what you are saying, yes, and I wholeheartedly agree.
Randy West, Montreal, Canada. I think in this Dancing for Pleasure, there's a little bit of something that has come across in the question of the caller's judgment. Now, that same sequence that you called, you could call that with a group that dances by definition from the word go, and there'd be no problem at all. But if you tried that in an open hall, you'd have collapsed in a long time before. And here's where I'm coming about judgment. The caller has to look at his floor, use his judgment, and the higher he can lift them, depending on their ability, the more fun they're going to have. But if they can't be raised up like that, forget it.
That's what I meant when I said about it depends on what the group is dancing. Soft plus, in which they're not dancing anything by definition, and just what we call straight down the middle, parallel ocean waves, no half sashay, no swing through. If they're dancing soft plus, then something like this would not be just adding variety. It would be adding such a complexity that it would be a sure loser. They would not win. You know, they couldn't be even cued through it. And may I say, the gentleman, Ed, was it, you said about the, no, it wasn't you, it was the man after you, who said about, wouldn't you cue them through? Yes, wouldn't you cue them through? There is a point at which plus dancers should not be cued through, because if they're on top of it, let's suppose you have people who are really good plus dancers. They dance by definition. They could have danced what Ed was calling with no problem. If you cue it through, they will go ahead and do another circulate once and a half, or make some attempt to get going on the help words that you're giving. And therein lies part of the judgment, as to decide how much and how often are you going to offer help words. Because at a plus dance, really, I suppose for general purposes tonight, we should have said, maybe established that this plus dance that Ed was calling to was a middle-of-the-road plus dance, in which you would have lost them under this circumstance. So you do have to be careful of cueing too long with plus dancers, the little help words that you give, or they'll start doing something else on top of that.
And the main thing is that on the normal, I don't know really how to put it, but in our area of New England, on a Friday or Saturday night plus dance, then I don't think the dances that we are exposed to could handle or successfully get through the second figure that was used for an example, due to the fact that it's out of the norm. The message is that if we use the standard setup or the most commonly used formations of any calls that we use, then the chance of success is so much greater. And why do we try to make it difficult when we can make it interesting and successful and hope pleasurable? We have another question coming.
Melvin Stewart, Madison, Wisconsin. If you wouldn't call this at a plus dance, or in order to get them through it, when would you recommend that you would use stuff like this to where you could advance the dancers to where at some point in time they would reach this to where they could handle that?
I would use this type of material at my workshop, okay, where I have a closed group of people that I am familiar with, they are familiar with me, and I would take it probably one step at a time.
Chris Roggett from Sydney, Australia. I believe there's a little point that wasn't mentioned, even though you started off by saying you're going to use explode as your example there. Nobody's commented that the explode, the way that you used in the second demonstration, was different. The fact that you had either a number 1 or a number 2 ocean wave and then called explode and. Now that was the first formation that was unusual. People have commented on the coordinate, and they've commented on the track too. I wonder if the message has been lost a little, perhaps by us and by yourself, by not explaining that that was the first unusual formation that you were going to demonstrate.
Thank you. Did everyone understand, Chris? Yeah. They danced that part, so I didn't feel there was any necessity to bring it up, but you are right. My apologies.
if we could leave the explode for a minute, how many of you are accomplished at doing a variety of formations? Like, how many of you can do progressive squares? Would you raise your hand? Okay. How many of you can do tandem squares? 6 couples, hexagon, okay. How many of you can do circle dances? How many of you can do contras? Good. Come on, somebody, give me some more things that we do that are little gems to pull out on certain nights. 2 couple dances, when you only get 2 couples on a stormy night. Okay? What's some more things that we can think of? The more kinds of variety of things that you can think of doing, the more you're going to be prepared for every kind of a circumstance that you have in programming. Yes. Oh, well, our right hand high, left hand low, the old kind of forward 6 and back you go. Yes. All right. Triangle squares. I don't know how to do it. Would you demonstrate, Joe? You mean with 3 couples only? Would you get to the mic, Joe, because it would be good for everyone to hear this and have it on tape.
I'm Joe Portlands, Beverly, Massachusetts. We have danced triangle squares where there's 3 legs of the triangle with 2 couples in each leg. And I don't remember how it was done, but you were asking for something.
Let's see, our oldest caller here. Curly, you know? Curly? You know? Does anyone know? That would be very interesting. I see. You can stars and circle things. Do you know, sir? Oh, I thought I heard something. Anything else, Ed? Gee, I don't think I've ever seen anything in print on, that would be, are you talking 6 couples now or 3? Just 3 couples. Is that what you're thinking? Okay, I've done that. 4 heads and 2 sides. Ginny, could I show you progressive squares? No. No, I was just thinking we would have to move too much, and I'll be perfectly honest with you. I have never called a progressive square in my life because Johnny was a master, and after watching Johnny, you know, they came out just about the time I married Johnny, and after watching him do it, I decided that I could never, ever hope to accomplish what he did, so I never did learn. And I also had the pleasure of watching Jerry Held at the Indianapolis Convention 20 years ago, maybe, and he had about 200 squares on the floor, and it was such an awesome thing. And at the very end, when he had left them all far away and was going to bring them back with the singing call, a teenage girl came along in non-square dance clothes, and they got her in. Some of her family was square dancing. They got her in. It blew the entire floor. And I made a mental note. That was the first I'd ever seen progressive squares. And I made a mental note that I would never place my dance in a position that it could be ruined. Because, you know, progressives are the kind of thing, if you bomb, there's no way out. You bomb. And also I would like to just mention that during our caller school at the time when Johnny was working with me on it, we presented the theory or the formula for using progressive squares. And one of our callers that had been there years ago, Joe Ubelacker, went home. We received a letter from him some months later saying, I really had it accomplished, and I got them all through. It was absolutely wonderful. And then I turned my back to put the needle on the record for the singing call, to bring them back, and they stirred the bucket. All right.
On that note, one more part of programming for pleasure, I think, is very, very much due with the records and the type of records we choose. And this is kind of hard doing it from up here with a master sitting out in the audience there, Mr. Curly Custer. But if I can have one square, and we'll kind of do this one and maybe have a chance to close it out. Can you get one square? I'll take that game. Watch the faces, gang. Don't watch their feet. You bow to the partner. You caught a band, you join a band. Circle to the left. Go moving around the ring, you go. Now circle right, go the other way back. Go all the way around that track when they get back home. You swing your partner there and then. You promenade around, you go. I didn't mean to shout it, I just fell in love with that pretty baby face. Why don't those heads right in look through? Same ladies change. Sides do a right and left through. Same ladies circle to the left. You're gonna swing that girl and then you promenade, go around that whirl. I didn't mean to shout it, I just fell in love with that pretty baby face. Those heads promenade halfway. In the middle, square through, go for it. Did a right or left through. Now veer left to a Ferris wheel. In the middle, square through 3. You swing that corner, girl, and promenade, go around and whirl. I didn't mean to shout, I just fell in love with that pretty baby. Side face, grand square and go. Reverse. Going to take 32 beats. I don't believe it. How do you like them curly? Four ladies chaining you, go, go, girls. Now turn and chain them back and then you promenade around. You go, I didn't mean to shout it, I just fell in love with that pretty baby face. Why don't those sides lead right? You circle for it. You make a line, move up, come back, touch a quarter, coordinate. You bend the line, move up and back, and then you stop through, pass to the center, square through 3/4 to the corner. You swing that girl and promenade and go. I didn't mean to shout it, I just fell in love with that pretty baby face. Why don't those sides square through, gonna get me? 4 hands around, you go into the corner. Do it outside, make an ocean wave. Relay the deuce, you go. All 8 circulate, go double. You swing that corner, promenade, go around, you go. I didn't mean to shout it, I just fell in love with that pretty baby face. Why don't the 4 men move into the middle and do a tap dance? Back out, join hands, circle up, go around that landing. Left Alabama, the corner lady, weave the ring, don't touch a thing, go in and out, around you go. When you meet that girl, do it side over. Left Alabama, come back and promenade, go around you go. I didn't mean to shout it, I just fell in love with that pretty baby face. Found the honey in the corner too, and thank you, gang. I don't care. But point was, I don't know if any of you noticed, but did the dance feel any different from the time we started the music till we ended it? You were relaxed as I went on? I was. How about you? Oh, interesting. Why were you relaxed? Can we have you up and say why? Okay, good. But the very first opening figure I used was what you would use on the first night of a class, am I right? And as we went through with the figure in the breaks, we went through the different programs. And a young lady down here said she felt more relaxed at the end than she did at the start. And I think maybe that's due to the music and not to what I called as far as material. Oh, okay. Does that make sense, that part of it? Well, thank you, Curly. Pardon? I wasn't paying any attention to that. Okay, gang, it is 11 o'clock. If we have any questions, we'll be here for about another 2 minutes. Any comments? Any comments? Anyone would like to make some suggestions? Any ideas that we can steal from you? We thank you for coming. Have a good night, and don't stay up too late.